The Mets enter Chicago and earn a huge 9-7 victory in game one of this series. And with the help of the Pittsburgh Pirates defeating the Cincinnati Reds earlier in the night, the New York Mets are back to controlling their own 2025 postseason destiny. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the True Mets Talk podcast. We are here with a day after recap and an electric game that we saw last night from the New York Mets, and I am here to break it all down for you all in about 7 or 8 minutes or less. Before we fully get into it, please hit those thumbs up buttons, subscribe to the channel if you are new to this channel, and comment your thoughts and opinions down below on how you are feeling right now after last night's victory. It was a roller coaster type of game. It was a really weird game, especially with how it started. Of course, the New York Mets got out into an early lead thanks to a leadoff home run by Francisco Lindor to make it 1-0. But we all know what happened in the bottom of that first inning when the Chicago Cubs came up to the plate. David Peterson, who we've had numerous conversations surrounding Peterson in this second half of the 2025 season. It seems like he is just fatigued. It seems like he is fizzling out. He is now fastly approaching 50, perhaps even 60 innings more than he's thrown in any other season in his career, and it is showing. We talked about it in the pregame yesterday. If you missed that pregame where Rob and I, broke down the game that was happening before the game, and we also broke down what's gone wrong for this 2025 Mets team and also got into some offseason talk. I'll link that in the description down below so you all can view it after you watch this video. But it is very simple that David Peterson cannot be entrusted in this rotation any longer. And it's really sad to say that this Mets team was really reliant, especially before the young kids came up in this rotation. They were really reliant on these veterans, and they have not gotten the job done. At first, it was Sean Manaea demoted to the bullpen. Actually, before that even happened, it was Kodai Senga getting demoted to AAA, and we'll get into Kodai Senga here in just a second. And then we saw Sean Manaea make his way into the bullpen to piggyback off of Clay Holmes. Ended up doing a reverse with Clay Holmes coming out of the bullpen in the second game or second outing of that duo. But that's neither here nor there. And now we have this conversation surrounding David Peterson not being entrusted and perhaps finding some spark in the bullpen like he did in the postseason last year. Uh, and you can't get this type of production. In the pregame, I mentioned that I was not confident in David Peterson whatsoever, and he just backed up every single claim that I made in that stream. 1 1/3 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, and he made the bullpen work. And he made the Mets and Mendoza utilize multiple bullpen arms in this game, which is going to be a very interesting, I guess, decision that Mendoza is going to have to embark on and how he navigates games 2 and 3 of this series, needing to use, 5 to 6 arms last night out of the bullpen, including Edwin Diaz, who went 2 full strong innings, racking up 5 strikeouts, and the Chicago Cubs absolutely had zero answers for Edwin Diaz. But even before Edwin Diaz, it was the rest of the bullpen also to get to that point and hold the Chicago Cubs at bay for the most part, outside of Tyler Rogers, who gave up an earned run in relief of Gregory Soto in the later stages of the game. Huascar Brazaban, big hats off to Huascar Brazaban. That game does not happen in the Mets' favor if Huascar Brazaban doesn't come in and provide 2+ scoreless innings for the Mets after the debacle that we saw from David Peterson. It was Ryan Stanek who, has been up and down this season. But if the Mets bullpen can get a good version of Ryan Stanek moving forward and make that playoff push, that is going to be fantastic news for the longevity of this bullpen, depending on how far the Mets make it. Gregory Soto did his job as well. And let's not forget Brooks Raley coming in to relieve in a really just close situation where he needed a big out, and he delivered in a major way. I believe striking out Pete Crow Armstrong in that situation to set up the Edwin Diaz masterclass. And I could not be more thrilled with the production from this bullpen. Again, I will say it one more time to hold him accountable after the unacceptable outing of David Peterson. But let's turn our focus now into this offense, because this win does not happen. Even if the bullpen replicated what they did, this win does not happen if the offense doesn't show up to play, especially getting things going early and often, like I mentioned before, with Francisco Lindor's leadoff home run, but also to claw their way back from a major deficit. This is the type of fight that I think this team can bring into the postseason, which makes them such a dangerous team if they do get in. Because as we've seen for the majority of the past month and a half, 2 months, this offense can put up runs against opposing pitchers in a hurry. The top of the lineup getting things done, getting on base. Juan Soto with an RBI. Pete Alonso sending a rocket into right field off the wall for an RBI to set up Brandon Nimmo's game tying at this point of the game 3-run home run. He got a pitch, middle, and he did not miss it. And Brandon Nimmo, if this Mets offense is going to really kick it into gear, I do think that Brandon Nimmo is going to be that catalyst for this offense. And he provided that spark with that 3-run home run. That was absolutely big time. A couple of, I guess, lineup tweaks and adjustments that Mendoza made that we were analyzing in the pregame as well, with Starling Marte in left field and Brandon Nimmo in center field. Clearly, Brandon Nimmo has the worst arm of the three when you're talking about Soto, Nimmo, and Marte. Marte's legs, we will see how they hold up in left field, if this is going to be a consistent thing moving forward to end the season. But defensively, I like the adjustments, because I don't think any Mets fan right now really wants to see Cedric Mullins playing baseball in any meaningful games for the New York Mets. Tyrone Taylor is expected to be activated today, and we will be actually live for the pregame show. And hopefully we get that news by the time we do our stream today, talking about Tyrone Taylor making his way back onto this team and potentially being another outfield starting option for the New York Mets. But I think offensively, if you want to maximize this lineup, the configuration that the Mets had going yesterday is going to be your best bet. But I'm looking at Starling Marte right now, right here. You've been great with the bat all season long. All season long, right? You have the arm, and you can still play competent defense, I am sure. And if you couldn't, then Mendoza wouldn't be putting you out there. But as a veteran of this team, one of the glue guys, perhaps, of this team, when a situation arises in the later stages of the game and you decide to drop down a bunt, I need you to get the bunt down. Us Mets fans and Carlos Mendoza need you to get the bunt down. We cannot be popping a bunt up in that situation. That is simply unacceptable. So that's all I'll say on that matter. But again, Marte, being the veteran, has had a really good bat for this team moving forward. Hopefully, he can equally contribute with the defensive contributions here moving forward down the stretch of this season, because the options in the outfield with no Siri, right, and no Mullins is getting pretty thin, and we don't know how Tyrone Taylor is going to come back from this injury. It might take him just a little bit to get to that fully productive status. But I think we have to close out this video and this recap by talking about Francisco Alvarez, because what a journey it has been for this young 23-year-old catcher. And he's been through his ups, he's been through his downs. It's been so far an injury-plagued career for Francisco Alvarez, and 2025 has been no different. Clawing his way back from multiple hand injuries, even suffering another setback in his rehab assignment, getting plunked in the hand by a baseball while he was hitting. This is not an easy thing to do, to just fight your way back up to the major leagues at the highest level possible and produce with the bat and the glove at the same time while still probably nursing these injuries. And this Mets team needed him to deliver in that situation in a major way. In a major way. Luis Angel Acuna, let's rewind real quick. In that eighth inning, Brett Baty comes up to the plate, delivers an opposite field single. He gets pinch ran for. This is a situation where Starling Marte popped the bunt up, and we did not see Luis Angel Acuna as the pinch runner take off and steal second base until it was already 2 out and Alvy was coming up to the plate. Now, it ended up not mattering, but I will say, if Mendoza decides to utilize another pinch runner in that situation late in the ball game, they have to take it off to second base and try to swipe the bag before 2 outs comes up. But Alvarez basically said, I don't care. That doesn't matter. And he sends one into the seats for the game-winning home run, a 2-run home run. And he was flexing all the way around the bases because El Troll knows clutch situations. He has delivered big home runs before. And oh, by the way, Mets fans that were calling for Luis Torrens to start for this team down the stretch of the season and in the postseason, this is something that you would not have gotten if Luis Torrens is starting for the New York Mets in this ballgame. Luis Torrens is not that kind of home run threat. He doesn't have that kind of power. And let's be honest, he doesn't have that kind of clutch gene that Francisco Alvarez has shown early on in his career thus far. And so I really want to give a shout out to Francisco Alvarez because everybody in that clubhouse, I am sure, as us as a fan base, as well as us as a fan base, knows how hard it has been for him to go through these trials and tribulations in this 2025 season. So all I got to say is that now the tide has shifted back. It's a seesaw. It's a back and forth between the Mets and the Reds. And oh, by the way, the Diamondbacks are there at just a game back as well. The tiebreaker situation is what it is. The Mets are going to have to take care of business and not rely on this tiebreaker situation because they did it to themselves earlier this season. But if the Mets continue to take care of business, they will be okay and they will be in the postseason to try to make a run. Game 2 is tonight between the Mets and the Cubs, and the Mets have Jonah Tong. What a opportunity for Jonah Tong to go out there and replicate his last start and show us Mets fans why we should be excited for this rotation outside of Brandon Sproat and Nolan McLean moving forward. We all know that Jonah Tong is going to be great in his Mets career moving forward, but we want to see it here when it matters in the 2025 season when this team has a lot to play for. So we'll see you all again tonight for the pregame stream. If you haven't done so already, hit the notifications buttons, subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up. And as always, I want to hear you all Mets fans in the comment section down below. It's the True Mets Talk podcast. Until tonight, until the next stream, peace.